here on ET Now. You're watching Business at 9 with me, Nivedna Prabhu. Our top focus, several feared dead after falling off an overcrowded local train between Diva and Mumbra stations in Thane district earlier this morning. Let's tell you, Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis has called for a comprehensive investigation into this incident. The Railways Board has issued a directive that all rakes currently being manufactured for Mumbai locals will be fitted with automatic door closing system. But as far as that is concerned, let me take that across to our guest joining us this evening, Mohammad Jamshed, former member, Traffic Railway Board. Mr. Jamshed, thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us here on ET Now.
Thank you.
In fact, it's unfortunate that we see many a time such incidents, and most often than not, sometimes we wonder when we look at this, if there's any value of life in the country. But you have been at the helm of affairs of Indian Railway Operations, Safety and Business Development as member Traffic. How should we look at what has transpired today?
Nivedna, this is very unfortunate, and today we are sitting here when we realize that there has been an accident of and trespassing and falling from the train. But this one, as the report suggests, was between two trains. In fact, people who were hanging outside of their respective coaches while the trains were running in different directions. In fact, they collided with each other, and many of them fell down. Not that on the Mumbai suburban cases of trespassing and cases of falling from the trains are new. In fact, this is almost like a daily occurrence. But in any case, I mean, or the number has reduced over a period of time. Significantly, numbers have reduced. We can certainly take credit for that, and the railways can take credit for that, for having undertaken a large number of measures. But is that good enough? I mean, we have to see that, because Mumbai suburban system is the lifeline of Mumbai, the commercial capital of the country. It's one of the largest suburban network anywhere in the world. And we find that despite the most efficient system that you can have on a surface transport other than a metro system, a 3-minute headway during the peak hours in the morning and a 3 minutes headway during the peak hours in the evening is something that has already saturated its capacity. At the same time, the overcrowding and people trying to take suburban local, because this is the most favorite mode of transport, and this is the most economical and the most efficient.
As you pointed out, absolutely, we're looking at the overcrowding situation as well. Absolutely, it is the lifeline. In fact, when you think of a city like Mumbai, it's synonym, in terms of how that network option for them to commute is. But look at the numbers. It's over 70 lakh daily riders. So at some point, can crowding be managed at all? Is there a way to do that? Because since you also said, and rightly so, it's the largest network, but it's still dealing with safety issues, which is why time and again, unfortunately, we look at such instances.
You are right. I mean, this is one situation which is technically very different from the railway accidents elsewhere. I mean, railway accidents have all been categorized when there is a railway train is involved, and the trespassing and also falling from the train are untoward incidents. That is how it has been categorized. Even Indian Railways Act in section 147 is all about trespassing, although 124A also prescribes compensation for those falling from the trains. But number of fatalities in Mumbai are far greater. And this is a result of overcrowding. Let me tell you one particular technical term that we have been using over a period of time, and not much headway could be made in that. It is that Mumbai's suburban system continues to have a situation like a super dense crush load. It is called super dense crush load. And this super dense crush load specifies 16 people in 1 square meter of space in a coach. Now, if this is the kind of situation, people will certainly be hanging outside the train. And how many persons can you accommodate when these trains in a 3 minutes headway are coming to the station with a few seconds of halt, and hundreds of people have to enter those compartments? Although the rate of fatalities, if this is something, according to one report, is about 33 lakh passengers in Mumbai, then it is almost like 3 or 4 in other systems in New York Metro or Paris Metro or London subway. So we have to do a lot. We have still to do a lot. A lot has already been done.
Those numbers as well. We have to do a lot, and the question on that, of course, Jamshed, was also given the aspect that why is it most often than not when you look at it closer, the reaction is generally after an unfortunate incident like this. It's never the right preparedness. Otherwise, we wouldn't be looking at the number of incidents that we do. What is it that we're lacking at this point? Why aren't we able to initiate that? And in your own experience, where do you think this lies? It's clear case of failure of governance as well at some point.
No, I would not. I would not take that, or I would agree to that, because a number of services are being introduced year after year, and a number of new rakes are being inducted, replacing the old rakes. So all those features, in any case, are being taken care of. A number of foot-over bridges are being constructed. Level crossings are being eliminated. Fencing between the tracks is already being done. All these actions are already being taken, and a lot of funds are being provided to Mumbai Suburban. I mean, which, let me tell you, that is a loss-making proposition at this point of time. The amount that we spend on this and the returns in terms of very, very economical fares are not adequate. However, all these aspects are already in the notice. About 40 kilometers of boundary wall is being constructed around the stations so that there is no possibility of people trespassing around the station. That is also being done. But at the same time, people also have to be vigilant. People also have to behave. People also have to take the foot over bridge and not cross the tracks or try to board it from the other side. But this perhaps happens because of the overcrowding, because of the demand that is there, and whether that demand can be met by introducing more number of trains. Longer trains have already been introduced. Now there are 12 coach trains, and maybe in future there would be 15 coach trains.
You know, as you pointed out as well, is the retrofitment of coaches with a door the only solution that we have at the moment?
Well, we have tried everything possible, and also, if you are aware that air-conditioned trains, local trains are also being run. About 8 rakes are already there on the Western Railway. These trains are already being run. Now, these trains already have automatic door closing, and people can travel with a lot of comfort in that air-conditioned rakes. Although on Central Railway, the experiment has not been very successful. I think if you introduce an air-conditioned train with a door closing during the peak hours, this has been our experience. I mean, people absolutely reject this whole idea because there are many hundred other people, in fact, who need to get in, and they cannot. Either, number one, they cannot afford the air-conditioned fares, or at the same time, the doors have to be closed. Now, if the doors are closed, this problem in any case is solved. The problem of overcrowding and people falling from the train can be taken care of. But whether this can be done and whether this will be the solution, with this kind of crowding in the trains and super dense crush load, every time, can you close the doors?
That is, of course, that perhaps the challenge over here, given we're talking about a city like Mumbai, Jamshed, but have such accidents increased over a period of time? And how do you, or rather, how would you say that the railway is responsible for this, for these incidents?
Well, as I told you earlier, I mean, these are not train accidents. In fact, these are incidents that take place on the local suburban system. And yes, it's an unfortunate fact. And I think there was an affidavit which was given in last year, exactly 1 year back. There was a PIL in Mumbai High Court, and the railways affidavit indicated that in last 20 years, about 52,000 deaths have taken place due to trespassing and falling from train. Now, this is an enormous number. Even now, in fact, roughly around 2,500 deaths take place every year. About 5 to 7 deaths every year on the Mumbai Suburban. There is a certain kind of vicarious liability that we have, and we need to do a lot more, and we have to really eliminate. I mean, the target should be that nobody should fall from the train, for that matter, or people should not be trespassing and getting run over by the suburban trains. So the numbers have gone down from about 5 to 6,000 per year to roughly around 2,000, 2,500 per year. But when it comes to fatalities, the numbers are immaterial. Even one single death is as important as any number.
Absolutely, because there should be value of life at the end of the day. But since you also spoke about the legal aspect, in the past also we've seen how high courts have taken note of these incidents. So the other question would be, should the suburban system be separated from railways like metros, or such incidents be categorized as accidents? How do you look at that?
Yes, I mean, that is another thing that railways will have to really now look at the metro systems, in fact, which are really working very well. Some of these metro systems, including the DMRC that we look at, and the ridership has gone up to about 40 lakhs, in fact, which is, getting very close to the Mumbai suburban that used to be, way ahead than any other metro system. But these are the metro systems, the subway systems with air-conditioned trains with different kind of access control. And that is how they have been able to prevent. There is also overcrowding there. But the cases of trespass and the cases of people falling down from the trains are not many. On the legal aspect, well, the High Court, the bench was headed by the Chief Justice, and they had really made certain scathing remarks against the railway. They said you cannot go and hide behind the fact that the population has gone up or there is overcrowding and many people are coming and we are running a very efficient system. I mean, in any case, the efforts, all out efforts should be that no cases of trespassing, people dying due to trespassing or people falling from the trains should take place. I think that needs to be taken care of.
Talking about that particular aspect also, we definitely have challenges way ahead. There are loopholes also within the system.
Well, I think the time has come when the Mumbai suburban system, I mean, we have to think very differently, out of the box perhaps. Some transformative decisions have to be taken. It is not, the usual tendency is to increase the number of services, how best it can be done. Although it has a pretty good record in terms of having even that automatic train protection warning system on Mumbai suburban, and the rolling stock and equipment failures are almost negligible. At the same time, this problem of crowding has to be sorted out, and this can only be sorted out when by even the larger one. I'm talking about not only the issues like having doors, or for that matter retrofitment of the old coaches or increasing the length of the coaches. This may provide some temporary relief, but this is not for the final relief, and therefore perhaps this is time now to have some kind of a revisit the idea of having a separate Mumbai suburban authority, a fully empowered authority away from Central and Western Railway, because there are two railways today which are running their own different systems. And then transit-oriented development is another theme that should be there, and this authority should become a profit and loss center where the fare rationalization can take place, where different kinds of new technology can be brought in as per the requirement. And of course, we also have to look at about 9 metro railway lines which are coming in Mumbai. 1 or 2 have already been commissioned. So a lot of traffic, this traffic in fact will be moving on to those metro lines. That also has to be, there should be compatibility with the suburban system and the metro lines.
Right. Absolutely, Jamshed. In fact, in a whole, if we were to look at it, you're saying this is a temporary segue, but it's not the whole solution. One can only hope that would get better, given the aspect that nobody would want to see more unfortunate incidents like this transpire. But for the moment, I want to thank you very much for joining us here on ET Now this evening. But for the moment, we leave the conversation at that, because we're slipping in a quick break here on Business at 9. But stay with us this Monday. We're going to be right back with lots more on the other side.